Hey everybody, welcome to Cage My IQ. My name is D-Bake. Tonight we will be talking about the Ben Askren versus Jake Paul, who should face Dustin Poirier in his next fight, and then the most recent fights that were just announced. Here's the promo for Cage My IQ. Once again, Cage My IQ. What we'd like to bring in first, Miles Long, as always.
Yo.
How's it going, Miles?
Doing good.
Doing good. And then also bringing in Sam. How's it going, Sam?
Hey, going good. How you guys doing?
I'm doing good. Glad to be on here talking some MMA. Now, the poll for today, or I should say tonight, is: does Jake Paul have a chance at beating Ben Askren in the boxing match? Just shoot us a comment in the comment section below if you think he has a chance, or if you think Ben Askren should take this handily. But to get started today, just want to see what your guys' opinions about the weekend news. The start of it is, of course, the poll is. We just heard that it was announced. Once I get the picture up, that Jake Paul will be facing Ben Askren, who just retired, in an 8-round boxing match on April 17th. I'll start with you, Sam. Get your opinion on this.
Well, you guys know that I'm a huge Ben Askren fan, and you had said previously that does Jake Paul stand a chance? Any fighter stands a chance on any given night. I think, Ariel Helwani said it best. A lot of people really aren't putting a lot of respect on Ben Askren's name. And, he didn't have the best run in the UFC. But before that, you're dealing with an Olympian. You're dealing with a world-class athlete. So I think they kind of cancel each other out. Ben is an Olympian. He is a world-class athlete, but his striking is also terrible. Jake Paul, he's a big guy. He does appear to have some boxing training, but look who he's beat, another YouTuber and a basketball player. So honestly, I think we might end up having an interesting fight between two guys who really can't fight when it comes to throwing hands. Now, if this was a grappling match or an MMA fight, that'd be, I'm all for Askren winning regardless. But I don't know. I can't see where either one has the edge. So I'm rooting for Askren. But I mean, Jake Paul does look big. He does have some speed to him, but I think this is a money grab. I think this is a cash grab for both parties.
Yeah. On to you, Miles.
Yeah, that was a really nice polished response from Sam. This is stupid. Like that's what this is. This is so stupid. Oh my god! I was like, all right, let me check out this Jake Paul guy, because I remember Askren from like Bellator and ONE FC, but I've never seen Jake Paul. So I'm looking at his first fight, the one where he fights a soccer player turned YouTuber, and I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, this is so weird. There's like weird ducking moves, and the guy kept falling, and that's how he won. The guy just falls on his ass 3 times. It wasn't even like a knockout, really. And it was just like these are clearly two people who cannot fight. Like, this feels like who's that guy? Charlie Zolanoff v. DeAndre Wilder fight again. Like, I feel like it's that. Yeah. We're just reliving that, just with different people now. Like, this is so dumb. Whenever I was watching the first fight with Jake Paul and whoever the fuck that other guy was, it was like I was back at El Paso watching two cholos, like, freaking post up with each other, like, like, all they needed was to have their trunks like sagging a little more, and it would have been exactly the same. Like, yeah. It's like Jake Paul is just pretending. He's pretending to be a fighter. Even the people who commission the fight don't take him seriously. You know who was fight commentating at the second fight?
Adesanya?
Nope. It was Snoop Dogg. It was Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg. Like, don't get it twisted. I love Snoop Dogg. He's a cool dude. He's an awesome creator, but he's not a fight commentator. Like, they bring in real fight commentators for real fights, and then when they're like, I don't know what the hell this is. Who do we got on the card? Okay, let's see. We got a YouTuber versus a basketball player. Who are we gonna call to comment this one? Oh, let's get Daniel Cormier in here. No, don't bother him with this. Like, we got other people who can handle this. Like, how many more ways can you say that this guy, he's just pretending to be a boxer? And yeah, Ben Askren's not a great striker. He's a wrestler. That's his background. That's his expertise. But at least he's a fighter. He had 22 career fights and like 6 knockouts. So he can throw hands when he really needs to. And like this guy, Jake Paul really only technically knocked out one guy. Like the basketball guy, he legit knocked out. The other guy just kept falling on his ass. So if Ben Askren was to go back into training and really work specifically on his striking with his experience, with his career experience and all that, versus Jake Paul, the YouTuber who like takes boxing lessons sometimes, like, I think Askren is gonna be able to go a lot further and do a lot more just because he's an athlete. He's been in that space for longer. He's got more experience there. Like, it's obvious who this is gonna win this. Like, I don't know what Jake Paul was thinking when he took this fight, and he wants Conor McGregor next. Like, he was offering like $50 million or something to fight Conor McGregor for, I don't know why McGregor doesn't want to do it. I think he's just like, dude, you're a joke. But which is funny because even if he took that fight with Jake Paul for $50 million, Jake Paul's only worth like 11. So I don't know where he's getting the other $39 million to pay up when he loses.
It's Trill Fight Promotions. That's the big money behind it.
Gotcha. Okay, so
Askren has went on to say that he's making more money for this fight than he ever made in an MMA fight. That's why I say cash grab.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. This is a moneymaker thing, and I think Dana White gave it to Askren because he just doesn't really like Askren, and this was just kind of like a bullshit fight. And then Dana White's like, "Well, I don't want to put in any of my finely tuned athletic machines, so Ben Askren, you take this one."
Yeah. Take the retired guy.
Not only that, but he just like you said, he's retired. He's not known for his striking at all. He's known for his wrestling. So Jake Paul thinks maybe I have a chance because I've been practicing. I've been putting the work in at my striking. He's not a pro at anything as it is, but at least he knows that maybe he could try and get Askren to get into his head and make him kind of try and like get DQ'd or something. Because they're making the money. You're going to think that Ben Askren's first start when he gets into the boxing ring is to go for the takedown or like go for one of those elbows because it's programmed in his brain to do so. And then for like a guy to go from MMA to boxing, I think it's a little bit harder than the other way around because you're already programmed to do certain things. And then for you to go right into boxing and then do just one thing, it's all about being programmed. And then, like I was going to mention this at the end of the episode, but I'm going to do it now. He's getting a little bit of tips from the guy that took out Askren in 6 seconds, Jorge Masvidal, a guy that doesn't like Askren. And then I think Masvidal is just thinking, I can turn this guy into something that can at least beat Askren. Like, I don't need him to take him down or anything. I just need him to outstrike him. I just need him to hit him and do damage there. Like, he already knows that Askren doesn't really have a striking background. It's more so take a guy down and then wear him out there. He won't be able to do that here. So it'll be interesting to see how both parties prepare for this. How well Askren can get his striking game going. That's the only thing they can
getting paid a lot of money. I think that's why.
Yeah, I was about to say Masvidal's there purely to hype that fight.
Yeah,
to get more eyes on it. He's not training that guy. I mean,
well,
he's
look
there
at him
to
in
make
the
money.
picture. Look at him in the picture. Like, that's not the pose of a serious trainer. It's
well,
like,
he doesn't.
this bullshit right here.
You don't think that because he doesn't like Askren that he doesn't get any satisfaction?
I think him and Askren actually get after that fight. They complement each other multiple times.
What
I think
was
a lot
it a
of that bad
compliment?
blood's gone.
What was
Well,
the
no,
compliment
like,
in 6 seconds?
No, Masvidal complimented the fact that he handled his loss like a man. He went on record to say that. I don't think they dislike each other, and I think Masvidal's there strictly to bring more eyes to this fight.
Oh yeah, no, I think like as a fighter, like whenever you lose a fight, no matter like what goes in, or even when you win a fight, really, it's whenever you like hold on to that, or you see someone else hold on to that, it feels very like someone who can't get past high school. It's like, dude, get over it, fucking move on. Like it happened. This is what it is, you know? So I don't think he really cares about that anymore. I think Jake Paul approached Masvidal and went, hey, I'm going to give you a lot of money for you to train me because you beat the guy that I'm about to fight. And I think in his head, like MMA math works that way. Like, oh, well, if you beat him and I train from you, then I can beat him too. Even though that's not how that works, like at all. But I think that's what he thinks. Yeah. So, yeah, I think he's going to get his ass beat.
Yeah. We'll transfer away from that to a guy that's been retired for a few years. He's come back, and then he's not looked so well. It's BJ Penn. They just put reports out that it looks like he got another DUI, or he was stopped for one.
Yes.
And my question here is BJ Penn's legacy tainted with his fury of bad press the past couple of years? He's been known the past couple of years. I think this was his second one that he's gotten, and then he's been pulled over a couple other times.
And the bar fight.
Yeah, the bar fight too. It's just a thing that sucks because he used to be one of the guys that you looked at in UFC. Like he was one of the top 5 names, and now it's like he's fallen off so far. I'll start with you, Miles.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know BJ Penn personally, obviously. I can only kind of just guesstimate his personality from what you see on TV and like that sort of parasocial relationship. But one thing I when I see the things he's gotten into ever since he, got out of UFC and stuff, and like how he's kind of downward spiraled, it sounds a lot to me like, I'm not a doctor or anything, but it sounds like he might be suffering from some stripe of like CTE. And like, if he had impulsive personality before, then over the course of that UFC career, because CTE was diagnosed originally with NFL players, particularly with like linebackers and linebackers and the guys who like take all the tackles. What are those called? The ones in the front, and they go linemen. That's the ones. So like those were the biggest number of cases where they found CTE, and what they found is the behaviors you would see from these people later on in life after they had retired from the NFL was aggression, impulse control, violence, short tempers, things like that. And it came from repetitive impact to the head. And that's why they did the whole redesigning of the football helmets. There was like a whole documentary about it. And I know that study didn't really extend into necessarily combat sports and like boxing and MMA and stuff. But I mean, we already know about closed hip injury and how that affects like boxers long term. We've seen that play out since like the 50s. So I think that there might be a piece of that here that's playing out, and it's not necessarily like, oh, BJ Penn's such a piece of crap, he got out of the UFC and just made all these bad decisions. Like, I'd be curious to know if he's actually been screened for CTE, because like if I was BJ Penn, I would at least want to take that test just to like rule it out. And if that's not it, then maybe there's just a lot of personal shit he's not dealing with in a very healthy way. But I think there is something to be said here about, having a career like that. And he was a guy who liked to stand and trade. Like he had a ton of knockouts, but he also had a fair number of losses by knockout. So he was no stranger to being punched in the head. So I don't know. His actions, while, they do kind of like, oh, BJ Penn, why would you do that? I don't know if it's entirely fair to say like that's all his fault without actually ruling out something like CTE first. Because if it's a mental issue, then it has to be treated as a medical issue, not as a like BJ Penn stop being an asshole issue, So
I'll move on to you, Sam.
That was actually a really good response. I like how you threw CTE in there, because for the longest time, Nick Diaz had the record for most punches landed in a fight Does anybody want to take a guess who the opponent was? It was BJ Penn.
Yeah.
BJ Penn has took a lot of punishment through the years, but when you're talking about his legacy, what he's done in fighting, the sad part about this sport, just like John Jones is always going to have asterisks next to his name because failed drug tests, and not even that, just the stuff he's done outside of the octagon. To me, I don't think that should. You can't. If a man can fight, he can fight. BJ Penn is a legend in the sport. I think there is some probably CTE issues, definitely some alcoholism issues. And, he wanted to get one more fight with Nick Lentz. There was a beef there between him and Nick Lentz, and Dana wouldn't go for the fight because I think a week after he had told him no, BJ had gotten to the bar fight and got knocked out by the big dude at the bar.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So, I hate that this, a lot of people have a hard time with retiring, when you're not in the limelight anymore. It definitely, the fans and everybody will that's what they'll remember when they were, remember BJ Penn. You're only as good as your last fight. That nobody's going to remember. Not many people follow the sport, as directly as we do. I remember, BJ Penn running with the flying knee and taking out Call Uno, and that had the fastest knockout record for a while. He is a legend in the sport, but, you have to handle yourself in and out of the cage a certain way to maintain that the way that people look at you as an athlete. And like I said, it'll definitely tarnish, it'll tarnish his image is what I'm trying to say. His record right now, I mean, he's definitely over 50-50. I think he's got just about, over half losses compared to, all of his fights. He's lost I think 7 in a row, 6 in a row. I'm not sure. I'd have to look that up, but he's got a lot of losses in a row right now. I don't think you're going to see him fight in the UFC again. And this will definitely, put a black eye on his image as far as how the people see him. He went from being the hero to the people of Hawaii to now he's becoming an embarrassment for the people of Hawaii and the sport of MMA.
It's crazy to think that just maybe 10 years ago, like I said, he was one of the pioneers. He would fight in the lightweight, and then I think he would always move up to the welterweight here and there when he would fight.
Wasn't he the first dual champion?
Wasn't
that him?
Well, he was the first guy to do cross divisions. He was the first guy to hop divisions and still be successful in a heavier weight class.
I remember him hopping up. I remember him having those fights with GSP. And then he wouldn't win, but he would put on a good show. He was known for to be the small guy before we brought in the flyweights, the straw weights, the bantamweights. He was the guy at lightweight, and then he would just you pictured BJ Penn there. He would fight anybody, and he just like you said, the flying knee to Uno, which was one of his highlight real moments of his career. But now it's you had that moment, and then I guess he didn't want to let it go, because once he retired the first time, it was okay, he's a Hall of Famer. We can see him going on, maybe training now, and then just ride off into the sunset. He had a great career, won a couple of titles, and then boom. But then he decided he wanted to go back and then unretire, and then he did it a couple times, and then he kept losing, and then he kept on coming back, and then it's dude, you had a great career. Why do you keep stringing it along?
That's all they know.
Yeah, it's all. That's what it seems like. Already knows. Could be a thing with CTE, like you said, where he doesn't know how to cope now with being out of the sport, and then it's just his way of staying relevant and then doing something because he doesn't know what to do out of it because he's done it so long. And then because of that, and maybe because of this, all the damage he's taken, he's acting out of character. I'm not trying to compare it; it's a totally complete different situation. But you saw how kind of Chris Benoit was in wrestling, how he
I was about to say that
he kind of got erratic. towards the end, but he was a little bit more emotional situation. This just seems like he's acting out character instead of being emotional. He's just acting out like in different ways, like drinking and driving, doing things that you wouldn't expect out of a guy like him.
All right.
And
That's one of the things about CTE. It does get worse with age. Like they found that when they looked at young athletes who started to have it, it essentially creates lesions on your brain. And the younger you are when you get it, they're small lesions. But the problem is as you age, they spread and they get a lot bigger and they start to take up more of the gray matter in your brain. So that's why people tend to get more aggressive and more like impulse control issues and seem to be more like just emotionally erratic. It's because their brain is literally deteriorating at a faster rate, or it's being damaged like over time continuously.
Yeah, where like he could be 35, and then with all the damage, his brain could be like the brain of like a 60-year-old because he's taking too much damage. So like he doesn't have full control sometimes over what he does or how he acts. And like I do think that it's tarnished him, but I would like to like put like not asterisk, like put a hash tag like or hash mark in between like his career and then what he is doing after his career. And like at least we can remember him for what he did during his career and then kind of be like, okay, then afterwards, that's when he had the issues. I don't want to put it all together because then I don't think that would be too fair for him because all this stuff started happening at the end compared to where he started out very well. So I kind of want to leave it that way, but I do think that there is a little bit of tarnish to his like what he brings and what he is now, character wise. But to go from that crazy situation to the next topic we have, which is Dustin Poirier, and who do you guys think should fight Dustin Poirier for the vacant lightweight title, barring a miracle comeback by Khabib? I'll start with you, Sam.
Well, first off, let's hope Khabib is just retired. Things are really starting to turn up in the lightweight division. And I think you got to go with the rankings on this. You know, Poirier, as of now, the rankings, it's Poirier, then Gaethje, then Oliveira, then Chandler. Ferguson's in the top 5. Yeah, I think it makes nothing but sense to do a rematch with Gaethje and Poirier for that belt. Chandler, I mean, yeah, he did look good against Hooker in that first fight in the UFC, but, you know, I think it probably wouldn't hurt him to get another win under his belt before he goes right for the gold. So I think it's a no-brainer. Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, the first fight was fireworks. I think another fight, Gaethje's grown since that fight. Poirier's gotten better. You know, to me, I think that could be a fight of the year. I mean, that's just got fireworks written all over it. So I'm leaning to Poirier, Gaethje, and then Oliveira and Chandler. And then whoever wins Oliveira and Chandler, will fight the champion, which would be either Gaethje or Poirier. How about you, Miles? What are you thinking?
I agree with you for the most part. I think Gaethje would make the most sense because he was the number one in that division for a while, and then after the
until this weekend,
yeah, exactly, he kind of bumped him out of that spot. So it would make sense to kind of pair those guys up. Although Oliveira would be the more technical pick because we've seen that Poirier can strike, but Oliveira he's a really good grappler, and he's shown that time and time again. We thought he was going to stumble with Ferguson. I called it. I was like, no, I think his grappling is going to be better than Ferguson's, and that night it was. But I mean, he would be probably the more technical challenge to show that Poirier is like as well-rounded as he says he is. Like he's got the striking down, obviously, because he knocked out McGregor and he got knocked out Hooker. Or no, that one was by decision, but it was standing and trading the whole time. So nobody's doubting Poirier can strike anymore. But if he was able to withstand and overcome Oliveira's grappling and just how relentless he is on the ground and how technical he is, then it would be pretty clear who's the best in that division. There would be no more question. But I think they'll probably go for the Gaethje fight because it's going to be the more attention grabbing, money generating card of the two. Either that or Chandler, because he is coming off a win. So people will be like, oh, maybe he'll go, one win against Hooker and then another win for the title. Like, I don't know. Between those two, one of those would I think both of them would make a lot of money. I think it's going to come down to which one makes more money. So
Yeah, I'm going in a different direction than you guys because, as you know, Poirier did fight Gagey already and then beat him. So it's like, and then Gagey's last fight, he lost to Khabib. So if you wanted to, just because he is at number one, put him into that spot for the title, you can. But I feel like it's like he needs to win one more fight to get back to that spot because he already lost it. Yeah, so like for me, I feel like you should have Poirier and Olivier. Olivier is Ryan high. I think he's on an 8-fight win streak.
8 fights.
Yeah. And then Poirier is on a streak as well. Whereas Poirier just beat McGregor, and then that basically like should have been for the belt, but Khabib is holding on for whatever reason, or I should say Dana White is holding on for whatever reason. Yeah. And I think he's gonna wind up just stay retired, and Dana White's gonna give up on that comeback, because I think the only way Khabib is gonna come back is against GSP. That's the only way I think he comes back.
He wants to play soccer now. Let him play soccer.
So
the ball around.
So I feel like it's gonna be Olivier and Poirier. You saw Olivier just basically did exactly what Gagey did, was completely destroyed Ferguson. And I kind of think he did it in a better way because he did it in 3 rounds, and he took out Ferguson's one arm in a round and a half. So he basically beat him in like a round, and then he just toyed with him the rest of the time because Ferguson didn't really have a chance after that with only one hand, and it was his non-dominant hand that he had to use. So like I feel like it's going to be Olivier Poirier for the title. Then I feel like you should do Chandler and Gagey next because Chandler just beat Hooker. I don't think McGregor is going to be in that sense. We don't know what's going to happen with Ferguson because they're teasing moving into welterweight, but then nothing's come out officially yet.
I think he's fighting. I think he's going to fight RDA, man. RDA is moving up the ranks. He's like 6th or 7th right now. That would be a bomb-ass fight.
Yeah. And then that kind of leaves like Gagey with Chandler, who is up there. Like I think he's like 5 or 6 now. And like if I have to remember, I just did the rankings.
Chandler's 4th.
Number 4, yeah.
Oh, number 4. Okay, that's even better. But he's 4, Gagey's 1, because you have Olivier who's 3, and then you have Poirier who's 2. So if they fight each other, then you give Gagey the next best guy, which is Chandler. He had a great showing against Hooker, like I said. UFC wants to do Chandler and Poirier because that's the money fight, but I think that they won't do it right away because I don't think Poirier would do it. I think Poirier wants to do Olivier because he's come out and said he wants Olivier. He wants the more established guy because he thinks that would be better. And then you just have the winner of this face the winner of that. And then, of course, we got McGregor versus Diaz 3. You got to do something with McGregor, and I think he fights Diaz again. This is the perfect time to do it. You can make your money now. This could either be his last fight if he loses again, or he could win this fight and get his momentum back, and then work from there. Because Diaz hasn't fought in like 2 years. It's like I feel like since the fight against Masvidal, I think that was his last fight. And
McGregor would piece Diaz up, man. I'm tired of Nate Diaz, and I'm getting tired of Nick. Either come back or don't, man. But Poirier won that fight, and all Nate did on Twitter was talk shit.
Yep.
And it's like, dude, you fight once a year and you don't win. Yep. You beat Anthony Pettis.
Yeah, but the
shit or get off the pot.
But the one thing that Diaz has that always brings him back is his chin. He never gets knocked out. Even in the Masvidal, he took so much damage. They basically called the fight off because he's bleeding so much. But he kept on standing up. He didn't get knocked down or anything at all. They just called it. For some reason, he can.
So he's a glorified punching bag then.
Yeah, probably all the weed that he does or whatnot. It probably keeps him from getting knocked down. But this is the perfect timing to revisit this, since they've been wanting to do the trilogy for this. They've also wanted to do the trilogy for McGregor Poirier, but I don't think this is the time because you got to build McGregor back up for that. Yeah. Before you can
Poirier
do that.
waxed him, man. Poirier embarrassed him. I wouldn't give him a rematch.
I wouldn't say he embarrassed him. I'd say the leg kicks, which no one expected him to do, killed McGregor.
But that confuses me. What everybody's saying that leg kicks are a new thing. People have been doing leg kicks.
Specifically, they're saying calf kicks are a new thing, which is true. It's a relatively new thing. It's not brand new. It's not like this is the first time anybody's thrown a calf kick. But
I've seen a lot of guys do it, but this is the first time I've seen Poirier do it. He doesn't use that kind of. He straight up just strikes you and then he tries to take you down. The only reason he did this was because of Brown putting that into his repertoire just for this one fight, because McGregor has been kind of focused solely on his boxing of lately, and then he doesn't really defend it. So Brown was like, put this into your offense. You should be able to wear his legs down with the kicks. And of course, that's what he did. He got him to fall down because he couldn't bounce on his feet because of that one leg kick that just killed him. He couldn't support it anymore, and he fell down. And as he was falling down, opened himself up for those few shots that ended the fight. So, but I think McGregor needs to work back up, and then this would be a good fight. You win this fight, win another fight against a loser of one of these fights. And then you can say, okay, I won 2 straight now. I can get back to the top 3 now. But I think he needs this type of fight to get back into the winning ways. Or if he doesn't, then it's like, okay, maybe I should hang it up because this is my second straight fight to lose in the top 5 that I had, and then I would lose to Diaz. So you're only going backwards from here, kind of like what Ferguson did, going backwards instead of forwards. You got to start adding those wins up before you can talk about getting in title contention again. So he's ways away from getting back into it, but I think this would be the fight to book for McGregor.
Hey, Ferguson's having another kid. Did you guys see that on Twitter?
Oh, no way. Wow.
Well, good for him.
He posted a sonogram of the baby. So I just think his head's out of the game. I think it's been out of the game.
Well, I think that, and then
do that.
I think that in the psychology of how many times, after he won the interim title, did the fight against Khabib just fall through? What was it, 7 times? Literally 7.
It's a tragedy.
7 times,
6,
and then what killed me the most was the fact that he got stripped. But then the next time when Khabib was champ, and then he couldn't fight it, he didn't get stripped. So they stripped Ferguson, but they didn't strip Khabib in the same scenario.
Yeah,
and I think
Khabib made more money.
I think
Khabib
that's
made them more money. That's what it was.
Yeah, but I think that got to him. I think it got to him that he never had that fight that he wanted so badly. That was hyped up so well, and then they had it to the point where both guys were killing it. And then Ferguson just took the Gaethje fight. I think he fought Gaethje on 2 weeks' notice because I think
he cut weight twice in 1 month.
I think just after that, I think his head was out of the game after that. He just got beat so bad after that, and then he took the Olivier one, and then it was just another bad. I don't know what it was after those fights, but it's just like you said, his head wasn't in the game. And then
he needs a head coach for one. You can't go in those fights without a corner, and he has a corner. But even Eddie Bravo wasn't even in his corner for that fight.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, but to move on to the next topic, we got a fight that's getting moved to the main event. We got with Dominic Reyes. His fight fell through. That was supposed to be the main event. It's undisclosed why Dominic Reyes pulled out of the fight, but nonetheless, it was pulled out. So they're moving the Rozenstruk Ghanai fight into the main event on February 27th. What are your expectations for this fight? I'll start with you, Miles.
I like Ghanai. I don't know much about the guy he's fighting, but I got the rankings pulled up, and he is. Oh, I just saw him. He was like number. I want to say 5 or 3. Oh no, he's number 3. There he is. So I mean,
3.
Yeah, he's obviously got some skill. I've just never seen him fight, so I can't comment too much on him. But I remember we talked about Cyril Ghanai specifically when he made his debut, and I like Ghanai. He's pretty good. He moves like a middleweight in a heavyweight division, which is a huge asset when you have that much mobility. He's got a good fight record even before he stepped into the UFC. I mean, he's already a pretty seasoned fighter. And I think he's going to go far in this division. So I'd like to see how he does against like a top 5 contender, and that's exactly what we're getting here. Because I mean, he only recently started in the UFC, and he's already number 7 in the rankings. So he's doing great, and hopefully he can keep that upward momentum. And he doesn't like pull a Dan Askren or a Ben Askren or some shit like that. That'd be a tragedy.
Oh, low blow.
Ouch.
Low blow, brother.
What about you, Sam?
All right, Rozenstruk. I actually just wrote a piece. You guys can read it on whatthebuzz.com. With Overeem coming up, he's fighting Alexander Volkov.
Yeah.
And I was just talking about the heavyweight division is so depleted. Miles, you had talked about he's already ranked 7th. Well, there's it's hard to find a real top 10 in the heavyweight division. They're just it's a very depleted division. I liked Ghanai. Both of these men's last victory were against the same guy. They both beat Junior Dos Santos. Both knocked him out in the second round, I think. I could be wrong on that, but both got knockouts.
Yep.
This will be Ghanai. I think it's Ghanai, isn't it? Or is it Gain? I feel like I'm saying it wrong.
It's a French word. I think it's French, but it's one of those.
Canadian, French Canadian. You're probably right about that. Well, this is his first fight has this been made this is the main card now, right? Am I right about that?
This would be the main event of the fight night card. Yeah.
This is his first time making that big money with the eyes really on him, because a lot of people didn't know him when he beat JDS. Mm-hmm. Now that he's beat JDS, but he's in there with a guy that has extreme knockout power. Rozenstruk is the real deal, Holyfield. He will put you out with one punch. His biggest problem to me is I think he gets lazy. If he doesn't get that knockout early, which I can't say that because I think he knocked out the Reem in the last round within the last 30 seconds of the fight or something like that.
The last minute of the 5th round.
Oh, but he was also getting warped the whole fight before that. Overeem looked good. I'm gonna go with my guy Ghanai. I think he's gonna like Miles made a good point. He moves really well. He's a big guy, but he moves around in there like a middleweight. He looks good. I think his movement. I think he's probably gonna knock Rozenstruk out. If this fight goes to 5 rounds and goes to a decision, then it'll be a boring fight. You'll probably see fireworks early, and I think Ghanai is going to be the one to do it, man. Good luck to him. Good luck to both of them, but Ghanai is the man.
Yeah. I'm looking at this will be. I think this is going to be Ghanai's 3rd fight in the UFC. I think the second one was the JDS one, where it was the first fight on the main card. So it was the first fight that you saw. So some people that were tuning in might have missed it because they're like, okay, I can miss the first fight. And just like you said before, that their last 2 fights have been against the same guy, Junior Dos Santos, in the second round. Looking back at Rozenstruk's past 4 fights, he knocked out Andre Orlovsky, who's always floated around that 10 to 15 range lately. Then he knocked out Alistair Overeem, but in that fight, he was getting dominated the first 4.5 rounds. Like, I thought Overeem was going to do it, and then out of nowhere, Overeem gassed out, and then he was left for dead by Rozenstruk, who just so happened to have a little bit more in the tank to get that one shot in to pull off the miracle upset against Overeem. Then he got beat up by Ngannou. He stood no chance, none whatsoever. and then he beat Junior Dos Santos in the second round, where it looked like he was going to get finished in the first round by Junior Dos Santos, but then he survived, and in the second round he caught Dos Santos with a nice punch, and Junior Dos Santos has lost, was it 4 straight? So that's not like okay, I beat him, because he's lost 4 straight, so he's going in the complete opposite direction. But this guy Ghanai, he only had a couple fights in his Canadian promotion. In his first fight, he won the title, and then
he was like 8-1 when he came into the UFC.
Yeah,
I think.
No, I think he had a kickboxing career before that, so he had other fights, but
but like then he came in here right away. They saw something in him. He won his first fight, then he won against Junior Dos Santos. He looked good doing that. I feel like the longer this goes, the better it is for Ghanai, because he seemed to has a better gas tank, but then we don't know how he does in 5 rounds, so we'll see how it is. But I know Rozenstruk gets tired, so I would think that Ghanai would want to take him down, but like first expectation is I think Ghanai is going to win this in 4 rounds. I think he wins it on the ground. So what it is. Yeah.
Are you saying TKO? Like,
yes, I think he'll get him down and ground and pound, and then it'll be stoppage.
I hear you.
Because Rozenstruk gets tired, and then you notice when he's tired, when he just wobbles around like he usually does.
Boy's gonna be sucking air by the 4th round. Boy, you're gonna need oxygen tanks after that fight.
Now move on to the next topic, which will be a quick topic. Chris Weidman tests positive for COVID-19. His fight is with Uriah Hall was moved from February to April. Do you think this makes any changes to the fight for either fighter, or do you think it's just another date, another reason to train more? I'll start with you, Sam.
Well, I think Chris Weidman just got probably about another month and a half to live in the middleweight division. This is kind of like one of those fighters, and I hate to say it, just like Chael Sonnen. Once they started the USADA testing, a lot of guys lost some steam, and Chris Weidman's one of those fighters. Uriah Hall is an absolute killer. I think if anybody in the middleweight division has a chance of beating Israel Adesanya, it's either him or Kevin Holland. I think Chris Weidman's done. He tried the light heavyweight. That didn't work. I think this is just another month for him to kind of train a little bit harder, but to probably the same result. So, guys, I've got to step away for 1 second. Miles, it's on you, bro.
No problem. Yeah, I mean, we kind of had this conversation a little bit before. We were talking about how COVID-19 affected the UFC. I mean, it's a little ridiculous that we still have fighters who keep testing positive. It's like they have the rules in place, so follow the rules. If you follow the rules, it mitigates that risk. I mean, it's not going to stop happening completely, but no, I don't think this is like an advantage thing, because it really depends on how sick does Chris Weidman get. Because, COVID tends to happen like on a range of symptoms. It's not necessarily one thing for everybody. Some people get it really bad and then they need to be like on a respirator or some shit. If that's the case, he's not fighting in April. Like, he's going to need some more recovery time.
Yeah.
But if it's like a minor case, then yeah, sure. But it's not like he's training with COVID. You know what I mean? He's not going to the gym and they're like, yeah, sure, come on in and grapple with me and do boxing with me while you're breathing heavily in my face. That sounds awesome, So he's losing training either way. I mean, I guess if the guy he's fighting is decides to continue training, then yeah, he gets more time to train. But I mean, if Chris Weidman had just been more careful, he could have gotten that fight. And I feel like if I was a fighter, I'd be kind of pissed that they were delaying this fight for something like that. Like there's usually below the top 15, but there's fighters who really bank on fighting in these fights, So when they get bumped or moved, that's kind of a blow, because they're like, well, shit, I was planning on taking some of that money and paying my mortgage, kind of has them coming up short. But yeah, no, I think Chris Weidman's kind of on the way out. His star moments were, with Anderson Silva and breaking his shin and beating him twice. That was like the peak of his career. And then it just kind of went down from there. And I mean, if hopefully he doesn't get that bad of a case of COVID But if it does end up being more severe than like, flu symptoms, then that'll probably be what finishes him, not like even losing. I don't think if he gets a bad enough case, he won't even make it to the octagon.
Yeah, I don't think it's too bad. I think
Good.
if they would have wanted Uriah Hall to fight somebody else, they would have just slide somebody in the spot, or they would have just tried to move it back a month and then have somebody else. But I think their thought process is Uriah Hall's right there at the end of 10. I think he's 9 or 10. And then Weidman
is number 8, actually.
Oh, there you go. And then I think Weidman is actually 11. I know that.
He is 11. Yeah.
He is 11. And they want to just see if Weidman can get back into the top 10, or like with Hall, a lot of the guys just fought or are fighting. So it's like it's one guy for him to fight that's not outside of the top 10 too far. You got him at 11. So at least he can fight somebody just to hold him off until he can get that top 5 fight, because he's on the way up. He just fought. His last fight was, I think, Silva. Yeah, and then he knocked him out, and he looked good doing so. And it's a good thing to see with him coming from the Ultimate Fighter, and then he's finally shown the flashes of what we expect to see from him. So I just think it's just the right fight for both guys to fight at the time, and then they didn't have anybody else to plug in at this moment, so they were able to just move it to April, and then they kind of, I guess, reset on the fight camps now, because I guess you kind of have to with moving the fight back. But
I don't think he's got a chance of winning against Uriah Hall, though.
No.
I don't think he has much of a chance of winning too many more fights, period.
I think he gets knocked out.
Of the first 3 names in the top 10, from like 10 moving up, you've got Kevin Holland, and then you got Uriah Hall at 8. Yeah. I think of those 3, the one he has some chance of beating to get into the top 10 is Kevin Gastelum.
Yes.
Gastelum.
I don't know, man. Gastelum's he just seems like he gets lazy, man. He looked really good against Izzy.
Yeah.
And then looked lazy against Darren Till. Darren Till put it on him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think
got lazy again.
Get lazy, and then like Chris Weidman has a chance to beat him while he's lazy. Who
did Gastelum fight last? Babe?
It was Hermanson. He got
and Hermanson put it on him.
Yeah, he put him on him.
Yeah, he was going for the ankle lock, right? The ankle pick or something like that.
Yeah. He got lazy during that, but yeah, I agree with you. I think Weidman's on his way out. But before we go to the next topic, I'm going to play the promo video for our social medias.
Cool beans.
Get the Lambo car, house in the hills with the stars. Told you I'd raise the bar, told you that I go far. Baby, it's crystal clear. I'm not a souvenir. I'm not an accessory. I'm a necessity. So come and check me out now. I'm a necessity. So come and check me out now.
We are The Buzz. You can find us on all social medias, on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and even Instagram at the handle at WTB.com. That's WTBDOTCOM. So subscribe to all of our channels, check all of our stuff out, and then support The Buzz. Now, moving on to the next fight that was announced. We got 2 more left before we cut out early. But we got Marvin Vettori versus Darren Till, which I highlight the King of Europe on there. That fight was announced for UFC Fight Night in April. I'll start with you, Miles. What's your thoughts?
I actually haven't seen either of these guys fight. They must have come in after I kind of stopped following UFC like in college, and they must have been kind of the new generation. But it looks like they're number 4, number 5 picks. So, I mean, top 5 fights are usually pretty exciting. They have a good draw to them. I need to watch them a little more to really form an opinion. But hey, at least it'll be a good fight.
Oh yeah.
What about you, Sam?
Ooh, well, the King of Europe, Michael Bisping, might have something to say about that. But this fight,
he's the count.
Yeah, I tell you, the middleweight division's getting fun, fellas. This fight look, only one person has took Adesanya, and pretty much, well, I can't say that. Gastelum fought him well.
That was a
But
really
Marvin
good fight.
Vettori could have easily got the decision against Israel Adesanya when they were both coming up. Marvin Vettori, tough Italian kid, and he also has really good grappling, which I think is going to make the difference in this fight. I love Darren Till, probably one of the best kickboxers in the UFC. I love his attitude, and I love the move to middleweight. The weight cut was killing him in welterweight. This guy he's championship material, Darren Till is. And I think if he can use his range and movement and stay away from Vettori, he can win. But I think this is Vettori's fight to win, simply because he'll mix in the grappling with the striking to where Darren Till will be looking for the shot, and before you know it, he's going to catch some leather. Going to be a good fight. Fireworks, definitely. I'm going with Vettori, but I love them both. Both could be champions in the middleweight division.
Yep. I got a comment from Nathan. Even fight, in my opinion, but slightly leaning towards Marvin. Think his aggression and pace will see him through. Till is still somewhat overly cautious at times, which I agree with that. Yep. Nah, thanks for tuning in to us tonight. What's crazy is I look at both of their guys' past 5 fights, and then just like you said, I was going to bring it up. Vettori's last loss was 6 fights ago against Adesanya, where they went to a split decision, and it went to Adesanya. I think it was 2-1. I think it was. I would have to
2-1.
I would have to double check, but just like you said, that fight could have went either way. And then he fought a couple no-name guys, and then his last fight, he did very well against Hermanson. Like Hermanson was coming off that good performance, and then just landed a big goose egg against Vettori, and Vettori picked him apart with his boxing, and then he stood no chance. Whereas Darren Till, his last 5 fights is like a kind of like a, I could even say 6 fights. It's like a who's who of that 2 divisions, where he beat Donald Cerrone, he then beat Stephen Thompson, he lost to Tyron Woodley, he lost to Jorge Masvidal, but then he beat Kevin Gastelum, but then he lost to Robert Whittaker. So within 2 divisions, he's fought 6 top 5 fighters in between 2 divisions. So he is 3-3 in that span. So he doesn't know whether he wants to stay there or to move up and challenge, because it seems like he fought at, was it welterweight? Yeah, he fought at welterweight. Well, he did have the title shot against Woodley, and then he lost in round 2. But then he moved up to middleweight for the Gastelum fight, beat him, then lost to Whittaker. So it's like
he moved up to middleweight after Masvidal knocked him out. That was his last fight, welterweight.
Yes. And then he went up to middleweight, and now it's like he won and then he lost. So it's like this would be a good measuring stick for what we expect from Darren Till moving forward. Whereas we know Vettori's on the rise. He's won 5 straight. And then the one loss was the close one to the champion. So it's like, it's either we're going to see Darren Till with a great performance and get back into that top 5, top 3 range, or we're going to see Vettori win and handle Till because Darren Till can't handle the shots. And then we see Vettori possibly earn a title shot because of how he's moving on up each time. Because it's just a matter of time, because Whittaker gets the I don't know what happens, because Adesanya is challenging for the light heavyweight title, so I don't know if he's just going to
Costa.
Yeah, well, Whittaker's fighting Costa, but then you don't know if Adesanya is just going to drop the belt and focus more on light heavyweight since he's chasing John Jones, or if he's going to actually hold on to both belts if say he wins against Jovic and then defend both. We don't know yet. So I think the division's kind of held up right now by whatever he does. I think the winner of Whittaker-Costa gets a chance again. I think they're hoping Whittaker wins that because he was due for the shot, and then Jovic is fighting Adesanya, whereas it should have been Whittaker. So This is just Whitaker's hold me over fight, and then Costa is trying to use that to springboard back for his title shot. So it all depends on all that, but I think Vettori could be the next in line if he beats Till.
Hey, Bake, if I could shill for myself real quick.
Yeah.
Guys at What the Buzz at whatthebuzz.com, check out my Devil's Advocate article on the state of the middleweight division. I broke this down in my opinion on how this thing's going to go. And one thing I want to say, you had mentioned Hermanson losing to Vettori.
Yeah.
That's kind of the beauty of what I'm not saying COVID's beautiful, but since COVID's came in, we've seen fights go together really quick. And that's changed the landscape of how these fights are being scheduled, and guys are stepping in and then they're losing. And then, because Hermanson was right there, people were talking about, moving up to a title shot. Now he's nowhere to be heard of.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you, it's getting really fun in the middleweight division.
Yep. And then now to go on to the last announced fight before we head on out, they have just announced that Tyron Woodley will be fighting Vicente Luque. I said it wrong. It's announced for March. Is Woodley getting too many lives in the UFC, or does Dana expect to come back? And then what do you expect from this fight? I'll start with you, Sam.
Do you see how Tyron Woodley's face kind of looks right there? Kind of looks like he just woke up. That's kind of how he's looked in his last 3 outings. He's got dominated in every round of the last 3 fights. He's not there. I don't know if he's not preparing, but if he goes in there and sleeps on Vicente Luque, he's probably going to have an early night out. As far as lives go, getting too many lives, we've seen, hey, my guy, Carlos Condit, he was on a 5-fight losing streak. Let's not forget he is a former welterweight champion, so he got some respect on his name here. But the way I see it, if he's not coming to fight and just getting a paycheck, there's been talk of the money problems with him since he's not getting that championship money anymore. He's focused about a terrible rap career, and he's on TMZ. Vicente Luque is an absolute killer. I see this going good for Luque, bad for Woodley. And I think after that, Tyron Woodley should probably, see if he's a really decent analyst. But he's always had the bad blood with the UFC. They're holding me back, blah, blah, blah. I don't think Woodley's head is in the game anymore. And I think Vicente Luque gets an opportunity to really jump up a couple spots in the rankings. And after this fight, I think it's it for Woodley.
What about you, Miles?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think definitely Luque is probably going to get a victory, and he's going to jump from number 9 to number 7, so he's going to hop a little bit closer towards top 5.
He's 9th, Miles?
Yeah, he's 9th right now. Yeah, I'm looking at the rankings, but he did recently bump up one from whatever his last fight was. I didn't see it.
Randy Brown.
Yeah. Didn't he break Mike Perry's nose? He put it on the other side of his face a couple fights ago too. Wasn't that Luque?
Yeah, that was in 2019. Yeah.
But I mean, you're starting to see like names shift around to where like the people who have the skill to be in the top of the division are moving up slowly, and that's probably by design. Like you've got Jorge Masvidal, he's number 4, Stephen Thompson's number 5, and then like below that, that's where you got Tyron Woodley number 7, and then a bunch of these names I don't even know. So I think what they're probably trying to do is give these guys who they're still hungry, they're coming on these win streaks, and they clearly have more to do in the UFC. They're giving them a shot to get into that top 5 so that top 5 bracket is loaded with good fighters and a lot of exciting fights, kind of like what we got going on in the lightweight division. Even though lightweight division, the whole division's pretty much stacked. Like I know a lot of these names, So I think they're trying to just cull the herd a little bit, take out the people who, they're on their way out more likely than not, drop them below the top 10 ranking and just, whatever happens after that happens. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I think this is a move for Luque to get higher up and maybe at some point in the future he might have a shot at the title. I know the champion here doesn't fight that often. Like, what is it, like 2 fights a year or some shit like that?
Like
If
one.
we're lucky.
Right. So no, I think he's got some good upward mobility, and hopefully if he stays hungry and he keeps training hard and doing what he's been doing, he'll have a bright future ahead, and hopefully we'll get to see him in the top 5 space pretty soon.
Yeah, and I think this is why they're doing the influx of trying to get guys outside the top 10 to get into it because of the stalemate with some of the guys not fighting too much. That's why you have Leon Edwards, who's ranked number, I think, 3 or 4. He's fighting. He's fighting Cam Chat Chimaf. Probably said his name wrong. Who's ranked number 14.
15.
Or 15. It's their way of like seeing how he does against Leon Edwards, who hasn't fought in close to 2.5 years because of one fight got nixed and then COVID because he's over in England, because the only way that they can fight is when they're on Fight Island. They're supposed to just fight last week, but it got nixed because of Chimaf was something with him. I don't think it was COVID. It was just something with him fighting.
He had COVID and he hadn't recovered enough, is what they had said. He didn't feel recovered enough to take the fight.
So then they pushed that to March.
Wear a mask. Sorry.
But then they pushed that. But then now you got a similar situation, but Tyron Woodley is losing like his last 3 fights. Like, he was doing good, but then he lost to Usman, then he lost to Burns, and then Covington, which is basically the top like 3 or top 4. I see top 3 because of
Covington's
because
number 1
Edwards
right
hasn't huh?
Covington's number 1 right below Usman right now.
Yeah. Basically because Edwards hasn't fought. So I just say that's, to me, the top 3. Like, he lost to the top 3. But he's on like a losing streak, whereas Vicente Luque, they've been on like a slow build with him. Like, I have his last 9 fights or whatever. He beat Nico Price, he beat Chad Laprise, Jalen Turner, Brian Barberino, Derek Krantz, the fight with Mike Perry. He lost to Stephen Thompson. Then he beat Nico Price again, and then beat Randy Brown. So he's had a bunch of those 10 to 20 rank range fights, and then he won all of them but Stephen Thompson. Stephen Thompson was his top 10 chance. He lost it. He fell back out, but then he fought back into the top 10, being Brown. So this is a perfect way to measure how Luque would do against somebody else in the top 10, knowing that Woodley hasn't won his past 3 fights. He's fallen out of the top 5, and now he's in the bottom of the top 10. But then it's like, what will he do compared to what Woodley will do? Woodley, we know, has that power right hand, or whatever. But that's all he does now.
It's all he depends on. He doesn't use his wrestling
too much on it. He doesn't do anything. He's too patient. I've watched those fights, the past 3 fights. He's too patient. He expects to use that, and then it doesn't happen. But that's my opinion on that. Do you want to give any comments before you get ready to go, Miles?
Yeah, I got to duck out. No, I mean, that's pretty much my thoughts on it. As I think we're gonna see, probably the top 5-6 spaces start to shift around a little bit, and we're gonna start to see the people who actually go in and fight and contribute to the division. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of guys who they're good, they don't fight. They're just sitting in their ranking space and just like keeping it warm, like, all right, well, move your ass and get the next guy in there who's actually going to do some stuff.
That's what I like about this, them not doing the 3 months before a fight training. I like to get it back in like a few weeks to a month, and then you're fighting again. I'm liking it because you're seeing more activity from all these guys. But I will let you go because I know you got things to do. And then
peace, Miles.
Before we get closing the show, I'll say see you to Miles.
I'll see you guys next week for the
Yep.
258 predictions.
Yep, we'll be
Right,
doing
right.
predictions. Yep,
Cool beans.
Uh,
All right, I'll see you guys then.
yep,
Good, man.
yep. Do you have any parting words before we get ready to go?
No, it's all, it's been a privilege with you, D-Bake.
Yep.
Really good show today. I got some pretty good input in. I just, back to the Askren thing, I'm rooting for Ben, man. But I almost wish he wouldn't have took the fight. He
Yep.
almost jinxes himself with the talk.
Yeah.
He talked a lot with Masvidal. I just, let Dylan Dennis or some other scrub take that fight. He should have been bigger than that.
Yep. And then my parting words before I play the Buzz commercial is just tune in next week, same time, Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be breaking down the main card for UFC 258, Burns versus Usman. I've been waiting for this fight since July when it was supposed to happen. This is going to be a good fight, and then I'm looking forward to it. And then I know you are too. So,
Oh, yeah.
but before we get going, here's the schedule for the week at the Buzz. We got over 10 plus live episodes of the podcast during the week, and here's our schedule.
War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Bringing that to competitors. Till we see the confetti fall, be ready for war. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Bringing that to competitors. Till we see the confetti fall, be ready for war. Tell them I'm ready, any opponent. The crown heavy and every minute is chosen. A path only fit for kings, and you won't know what this court means. What did you enlist for? If it isn't getting more rings, then you gon' have to switch your team. Trust me, it gets more mean. I'm a nightmare going up against your dreams. First step is explosive like a bomb hit. Bet if I let it fly, I cannot miss. And you ain't got a chance at the top 10 when you getting clamped all night by a locksmith. On the block, throwing lobs to my top bigs. I'm a chef, no look, what's the top dish? Tie game, through the pressure as the clock ticks. Crossover, step back, hit a shot, switch. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Bringing that to competitors. Till we see the confetti fall, be ready for war. This is how champions are made, but it never happens in a day. It's all hard work, but it's why what happens when we play 9 out of 10 times. I'ma lap you with.
And we're back. Right before we get going, I just want to let everybody know you can catch, if you didn't catch this episode, you can catch all of our content on the Buzz Facebook page or the Buzz YouTube page at WTB.com. That's WTB.com. Or you can catch us on Cage My IQ's Twitter account, which is at Cage MYIQ. And that's Twitter on Cage MYIQ. Catch it on there, and you can find us live every Monday at 8 o'clock Eastern time. Anything you got to say before we wrap this up?
Nope. It's a pleasure, Bakes. See you next
Pleasure.
Monday.
Pleasure myself. And then we got Nathan chiming in. Great show, guys. Thank you very much.
Hey,
And then he also said, recommend you guys all watch Luque versus Brian Barberina. It's an amazing fight.
check it out, bro.
Definitely will. But we are going to get going. We'll see you guys next Monday. Talk to you later.
Peace.